Welcome back, everyone. Today we're talking about Washington quarters that can surprise anyone. These coins look completely normal, but some of them are worth a lot of money. We're talking about rare mistakes, special years, and hidden treasures that can turn a simple 25-cent coin into something very valuable. Many of these quarters were used in stores, dropped on the ground, or kept in jars for years, and now collectors pay amazing prices for them. So let's get started. First up, the 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark. Now, at first glance, this coin looks simple, plain, nothing special. In fact, the one you're looking at here, just like the one in many old drawers, shows light wear, normal circulation marks, and that soft silver-gray color we all remember from pocket change. But don't let that fool you. Because the 1965 quarter hides one of the biggest secrets in U.S. coin history, a secret that created some of the most valuable quarters ever discovered. 1965 wasn't just another year. It was a turning point. Before this year, every Washington quarter was made of 90% silver. But rising silver prices forced the government to make a dramatic decision: remove silver from all quarters. That meant 1965 was supposed to be the very first year the U.S. Mint switched fully to copper-nickel. Every single quarter from this year should have been made without a trace of silver. At least, that's what the Mint said. But collectors know the truth. A few 1965 quarters somehow slipped out of the Mint struck on silver planchets from the previous year. And today, those mistakes, those few rare survivors, are worth more than luxury vacations, more than high-end jewelry, and yes, even more than some people's cars. One of these silver planchet 1965 quarters shocked the collecting world when it sold for well over $250,000. Imagine that. A quarter worth more than a house, all because of one tiny mistake the Mint never intended. Now, let's talk about the coin you see here. It shows the normal copper-nickel color, the typical dull shine of a quarter that's been in circulation for decades. There's normal wear on Washington's cheek, some light smoothing on the high points of his hair, and gentle scratches across the fields, exactly what you'd expect from a coin that's been in pockets and cash registers for years. Nothing looks out of place, and that's where the story becomes even more interesting, because the rare 1965 errors hide in plain sight. They don't look special at all. If anything, they look almost exactly like this. Collectors always check three things first: weight, color, and ring. A regular copper-nickel 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But a silver one weighs closer to 6.25 grams and has a soft, brighter shine. And when you drop it lightly on a table, it rings with that high, clean silver tone. That sound alone has made some collectors gasp, because it means they're holding a quarter worth more than their whole coin collection combined. But weight isn't the only way to hit the jackpot with a 1965 quarter. There are other rare errors from this year that can push the value far into the six-figure range. Some were struck on nickel planchets by mistake. Others show off-center strikes, broad strikes, and wrong metal errors that leave experts shaking their heads. One dramatic example is the 1965 double strike error, where the coin was struck twice at different angles. Another is the rare 1965 quarter struck on a 1-cent bronze planchet, a mistake so wild that collectors still talk about it today. And here's the shocking part: a lot of these mistakes were never found immediately. Many were spent in gas stations, diners, grocery stores, movie theaters, mixed into the hands of everyday people who never had any idea what they were touching. Some of these ultra-valuable 1965 quarters stayed hidden in circulation for decades before someone finally realized what they had. Now, the coin you're seeing here, with its smooth edges, natural wear, and normal color, looks like a common piece. But that's exactly what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook. Because the rarest versions of this quarter look almost identical until you check those tiny details. A collector could easily hold a $200,000 mistake and think it's just another 25 cents. Even in normal conditions, high-grade 1965 quarters can be worth surprising money. A perfectly preserved version, what collectors call mint state, can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But the real treasure lies in the mistakes, the errors that slipped past the Mint during one of the biggest metal changes in U.S. history. Those are the coins collectors dream about. And when one of those shows up, the bidding goes wild. Now imagine this. Someone back in 1965 opens their pocket, looks at a quarter just like this one, and spends it without thinking. Maybe for a soda. Maybe for a bus fare. Maybe they dropped it somewhere and forgot about it. And today, That same coin could be sitting in someone's jar, drawer, or collection, worth more than $250,000. It's almost unbelievable. But that's what makes the 1965 quarter such a legend. And here's something even more exciting for collectors today. Because 1965 quarters are so common, most people ignore them. They get passed over. Not even checked. Which means the next person who finds one of those rare, silver planchet errors could be someone just like you. Someone who decides to take a closer look, maybe for the first time ever. Next, we talk about a coin that many collectors overlook, but they shouldn't. Because this one, the 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark, has a story that still surprises experts today. And just like the last coin, the one you're seeing here may look simple at first glance. It has that soft, worn surface from years of circulation, gentle fading on Washington's cheek and hair, and the usual light scratches across both sides. This is the look of a quarter that has lived a normal life, passed through hands, pockets, cash drawers, vending machines, maybe even a few coin jars. But behind this quiet, worn surface sits one of the most explosive stories in modern U.S. coin history. Because the 1967 quarter was born in the middle of chaos, true chaos. The country was facing a nationwide coin shortage. People were hoarding all the silver coins. Banks were running low. And the U.S. Mint, desperate to restore circulation, took extreme measures. They stopped putting mint marks on all coins so people couldn't tell where they were made. They pushed production as fast as possible. And in that rush, mistakes happened. Big mistakes. Mistakes that today are worth more than $300,000 to the right collector. Now, let's talk about the coin you're looking at. It shows the typical color of the copper-nickel-clad quarters from the late 1960s. No silver shine, just that natural gray tone that comes from years of use. Washington's profile is still clear, but the hair, the jawline, the lettering, all show smoothing. On the reverse, the eagle's wings and legs have lost some crispness. These details tell us this piece circulated for quite a while, maybe decades. It's a normal coin, in normal condition, and yet that's exactly why this date is so dangerous to ignore. Because the rare versions of the 1967 quarter look almost identical to this until someone checks the right details. During the Mint's frantic push to increase production in 1967, a number of errors slipped through the cracks. Some of these mistakes were small, but others were massive, the kind that make a collector's heart jump the moment they spot them. One of the rarest possibilities is a 1967 quarter struck on a silver planchet, just like the famous 1965 wrong metal errors. It wasn't supposed to happen, not even by accident, and yet a tiny number did. They weigh more, they ring differently, and they have that unmistakable silver glow. A confirmed example can bring incredible money, well into the high six-figure range, pushing past $350,000 in top-grade condition. That's the kind of number that leaves collectors speechless. But silver isn't the only shocker from this year. The Mint accidentally struck some 1967 quarters on nickel planchets, some on cent bronze planchets, and even a few on experimental metal blends that were being tested due to the coin shortage. And then there are the dramatic strike errors, off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, and even the rare 1967 quarter struck without a full clad layer, creating a strange copper-colored surface that looks wrong the moment you see it. Any of these major errors can easily push the value into the tens of thousands, and in high mint state grades, well over $300,000. Now think about this. The coin shortage in the 1960s meant people were constantly grabbing any quarter they could get. Cashiers didn't look. Shoppers didn't look. Most of these rare mistakes were spent instantly, mixed into circulation, and forgotten. They lived the same life as the coin you're seeing here. They rode in pockets, rattled in ashtrays, rolled across countertops. Nobody ever knew what they had. And that's why so many of these errors stayed hidden for so long. Even today, collectors still find new varieties from 1967 that no one had documented before. Let's take a closer look at the condition of your coin. Washington's face has light flattening. The motto "In God We Trust" is visible but worn. The date 1967 is clear, though the bottom of the digits shows smoothing from long-term use. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers have blended areas, especially on the chest and wings. The branches under the eagle are still defined, but not sharp. This is exactly the condition where many people never bother to check for errors, and that's where the treasure hides. Because some of the rarest 1967 errors were found on coins in this same level of circulation where, if this same coin had been struck on a silver planchet, even in this worn condition, it could easily pass $40,000, and if it had survived uncirculated, the value would push into the six-figure range. If it had been struck on a cent planchet, the unusual reddish tone would turn heads immediately. Values for those can shoot above $50,000. But the biggest money goes to the untouched, high-grade errors that escaped notice at the mint before being released. Those are the coins that cross auction blocks today for life-changing amounts. And here's the most shocking part. Because 1967 quarters were minted in massive numbers with no mint marks at all, the average person assumes every single one of them is common. People rarely even check. Which means some of the most valuable mistakes from this year may still be sitting quietly in old jars, boxes, and drawers across the country. Somewhere, a six-figure treasure is hiding, waiting for the right person to recognize it. This coin, the one you're seeing here, shows the everyday face of the 1967 quarter, the same look all those rare pieces had before someone discovered them. And that's what makes this date so exciting for collectors. It's not the coin you expect. It's not the coin you look at twice. But it's the coin that can surprise you when you least expect it. Next up, we move to a coin that millions of people used every single day, but only a few rare ones from this year turned into shocking discoveries. This is the 1969 D Washington quarter. At first glance it seems normal, but when the right version appears, the value can jump so high that even longtime collectors are surprised. The 1969 D was made at the Denver Mint, and you can see the small D mint mark next to the date. The front has the familiar image of George Washington, with liberty above his head and "In God We Trust" on the left. Even after years of use, the main details of Washington's face and hair are still easy to recognize. The back has the big eagle standing proudly on a branch, with its wings spread wide. This design is simple but powerful, and it remained one of the most well-known quarter designs in American history. Most 1969 D quarters look just like this, worn from years of pocket use. But not all of them were struck the same way at the mint. Some coins came out with small mistakes, and these mistakes are what make collectors stop and look closely. A regular worn 1969 D quarter is worth only face value, but a rare one from this year can be worth more than anyone expects. Before we talk about why, let's look at condition. A quarter from 1969 that still looks bright and almost brand new is already special. Most coins from that time have scratches, dull surfaces, and faded details. Finding one that still shines and has sharp edges is not common at all. Collectors love coins that look untouched, and the higher the grade, the better. A top-grade 1969 D quarter can already be worth strong money, but the real excitement happens when a rare error is added on top of that. One of the most important errors for this year is a double die. This happens when the design is pressed slightly twice by accident, making some letters or numbers look doubled. The date may look thicker, or the word "Liberty" may have a shadow-like second image. Real double dies are bold and clear, not light or shaky. When a true double die appears on a 1969 D quarter, the value can rise very fast. And here comes the shocking part. The best examples of this coin with rare errors have sold for around $250,000 or even more. Yes, a simple quarter from 1969 can reach that kind of value when the error is strong and the condition is high. Another exciting error is the off-center strike. If the coin wasn't placed perfectly in the press, the whole design may shift to one side. A small shift is common, but a big shift, where part of the design is missing, can be extremely valuable. These coins look unusual because the circle is complete, but the picture inside is moved. Collectors love these because they are easy to spot and very rare for this year. There are also a few incredible cases where a 1969 D quarter was struck on the wrong metal planchet. For example, some were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets instead of the usual copper nickel. These are extremely rare finds, and when one shows up, the value can once again reach well over $250,000 depending on condition. It's the kind of discovery that completely changes someone's day. Double-struck coins are another interesting type. These are coins that were hit by the press twice, usually with the second hit slightly turned or shifted. The coin ends up with two overlapping images, and it looks almost like it melted and froze again. These mistakes are dramatic, easy to recognize, and very valuable when found on a 1969 D quarter. Now picture this. Someone is going through an old jar of coins, maybe left in a drawer for years. They pick up a dirty 1969 D quarter and almost toss it aside. But then something about the date looks strange. Maybe the letters look doubled, maybe the strike looks off, maybe the metal feels different. That single moment, when they look closer, could be the moment they discover a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is the magic of this hobby. A simple coin that most people never notice can end up carrying a huge story. And the best part is that people still find rare 1969 D quarters today. They show up in old collections, in rolls, in forgotten boxes, even mixed in with regular pocket change. Every collector knows that the most unbelievable finds often appear when you least expect them. Next up, we move into the early 1970s with a coin that millions of Americans used every single day, yet almost nobody ever thought to look at closely. This is the 1971 Washington quarter without a mint mark, and even though it looks simple, this year has some of the most surprising hidden treasures in the entire Washington quarter series. Some rare examples of this coin, yes, this plain-looking 1971 quarter, have sold for over $350,000, and when you hear why, you'll understand why collectors never ignore this date. The first thing to know is that a 1971 quarter without a mint mark comes from the Philadelphia Mint. Back then, Philadelphia coins did not carry a P mark, so if your 1971 quarter looks blank beside the date, that's normal. But what makes Philadelphia issues exciting is that the mint was pushing out huge numbers of coins in the early 70s. When production is high, mistakes can slip through, and those mistakes are exactly what turn an everyday 25-cent piece into something you would never expect. Let's start with the design. The front shows the familiar portrait of George Washington. Even older Americans recognize this design instantly because they used it for so many years. At the top you'll see Liberty, and on the left side is In God We Trust. The date, 1971, sits at the bottom. On most worn 1971 quarters, Washington's hair looks flat, the smooth shine is gone, and the details are soft. But on a high-grade, untouched example, you'll see sharp lines in the hair, crisp edges around the letters, and a bright cartwheel shine when the coin moves under light. These perfect condition pieces are incredibly rare today. The back shows the strong eagle standing on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below. On circulated coins, the feathers often look worn down, but on uncirculated pieces, the feathers look sharp like tiny lines carved into the metal. These sharp details matter, because coin graders look at them when deciding how much a coin is worth. Now here's where things get exciting, and shocking. A normal, worn 1971 quarter is worth only face value. But when you find a rare high-grade example or one with a dramatic mint error, the value can shoot up in a way most people would never expect. Some of the rarest pieces from this year, especially those with strong errors, have hit prices past $350,000, and those discoveries often came from places as simple as old jars or forgotten boxes of coins. One of the biggest reasons this year is so important is the double die error. When this happens, the die that strikes the coin shifts slightly, pressing the design twice. A true double die shows bold doubling in the date, the letters, or sometimes Washington's features. This doubling is not light or shaky, it is strong, clear, and easy to spot. When a 1971 no-mint mark quarter has this rare doubling, and when the coin is also in high grade, the value becomes unbelievable. It is not a small premium. Collectors know that some examples have reached hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another huge error for this year is the off-center strike. If the coin wasn't lined up correctly under the machine, the design gets pushed to one side. A small shift isn't special, but a big off-center strike, where part of the date or part of Washington's head is missing, is worth serious money. These dramatic mistakes can bring values from the thousands into the six-figure range, and the rarest high-grade pieces get extremely close to that $350,000 mark, but we're just getting started. Some 1971 no-mint mark quarters were also struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the coin was made on metal meant for another denomination. A few discovered pieces were struck on nickel planchets, some on dime planchets, and the most shocking ones were struck on leftover silver planchets, even though silver quarters had ended years earlier. These wrong metal errors are incredibly rare, and when a collector finds one in strong condition, the value can jump into the hundreds of thousands. These are the moments when people stare at a coin in disbelief. Double-struck errors also add to the mystery and excitement. When the coin gets hit twice in the press with a twist or shift, the whole design looks wild and distorted. These dramatic pieces catch collectors' eyes instantly because of how unusual they look. And when a double-struck 1971 quarter appears in mint condition, it can bring very high prices at auction. Now imagine someone sitting at their dining table, cleaning out an old drawer or sorting through change from years ago. They see a plain 1971 quarter with no mint mark and think nothing of it. But then, maybe the letters on Liberty look thicker, maybe the date looks doubled, maybe the coin looks too perfect for its age. And in that moment, that simple 25-cent coin becomes something completely different, something rare, something valuable, something unforgettable. Collectors love the 1971 no mint mark quarter because it teaches one powerful lesson: a treasure doesn't always look like treasure at first. Sometimes the rarest finds come from the most ordinary-looking coins. The Philadelphia Mint produced so many quarters in the early 70s that nobody expected these mistakes to be worth much, but today, they're some of the most sought-after pieces in the entire series. Moving on, we now come to a coin that almost everyone has held at least once in their life, yet only a tiny number of people have ever stopped to look at it closely. And that's exactly why this next one is so exciting. This is the 1973 Washington quarter without a mint mark, a coin that looks simple, ordinary, and common, but the truth hiding behind some rare examples is far from ordinary. In fact, when the right combination of condition and minting errors comes together, this coin can reach values that shock even longtime collectors. Some of the rarest versions of the 1973 no mint mark quarter have sold for well over $230,000, and the people who found them usually say the same thing: "I never expected that from a regular quarter." The 1973 quarter was made mostly at the Philadelphia Mint, and coins from Philadelphia in that era usually did not carry a mint mark. When someone sees a 1973 quarter without any letter beside the date, that is normal. But what makes this coin interesting is how differently the strikes came out that year. Some were sharp and crisp. Others were soft, flat, or uneven. And when you mix those differences with rare mint mistakes, you get a coin that becomes worth far more than anyone expects. Let's start with the design. The front shows George Washington's profile, the same familiar face Americans have seen on quarters for decades. The word Liberty spreads across the top, and "In God We Trust" sits on the left side. The date sits cleanly at the bottom. When a 1973 quarter is in great shape, you can see the tiny lines in Washington's hair and the crisp curve of his jaw. But most 1973 quarters spent years in pockets, drawers, and cash registers, so finding one in true mint state condition is already a challenge. The back shows the famous eagle with its wings open, standing on a bunch of arrows with olive branches beneath. Even in worn condition, that eagle looks strong and bold. But in uncirculated condition, the feathers look sharp, almost carved. That sharpness is what collectors look for first. Now, here's where things get exciting. For most people, a normal circulated 1973 quarter without a mint mark is worth only face value. But the rare high-grade examples, the ones that somehow survive more than 50 years without scratches or wear, can already bring in strong collector prices. The Philadelphia Mint in the early 1970s was known for producing many coins quickly, sometimes leading to small defects. So a perfect example with full shine, full luster, and no marks can be incredibly valuable, but the real shock comes from the rare mint errors. These are the coins that take the value from a few dollars to life-changing money. One of the biggest errors for this year is the double die. If the die pressed the design slightly twice, the date, letters, or parts of Washington's profile can appear doubled. The doubling is bold, clear, and impossible to miss when it's a real double die. And when one of these high-grade double die 1973 no mint mark quarters appears, the value can explode. Some of the best examples have been known to reach over $230,000, especially when the doubling is dramatic and the coin has almost no marks. Another important error is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't placed perfectly under the press. A small shift isn't valuable, but a big shift, where part of the date or part of Washington's head moves toward the edge, can be extremely rare. Collectors love these because they are visually striking and easy to spot. And a large off-center 1973 quarter in mint condition can bring astonishing prices. There are also wrong planchet errors for this year. These are coins accidentally struck on metal meant for other denominations. Some were struck on nickel planchets, some on dime planchets, and the most valuable ones on leftover silver planchets. These wrong stock pieces are extremely rare, and they always draw huge attention at auctions. A wrong metal 1973 quarter without a mint mark in high grade has been known to bring amounts deep into the six-figure range, with the very best examples crossing $220,000 easily. Double-struck errors also add excitement. In these cases, the coin was hit twice by the press, sometimes rotated or shifted between strikes. The image looks doubled, messy, and dramatic, the kind of mistake collectors dream of finding. And when it happens on a 1973 no-mint mark quarter, the value climbs fast, especially in uncirculated condition. Imagine someone picking up a handful of old change from a jar in their house. They pour it onto the table, and a plain-looking 1973 quarter rolls out. They almost ignore it. But then something catches their eye, maybe the date looks thicker, maybe the letters look doubled, maybe the design looks shifted. And suddenly, that ordinary coin becomes something much more. Stories like this are real, and they remind collectors that the most unbelievable finds often appear in the most unexpected places, and what makes this year even more emotional for collectors is the era it comes from. The early 1970s were a time of big changes in coin production in the United States. Machines were adjusting, planchets were shifting, and the mint was handling huge amounts of coins every day. That mixture of speed and pressure sometimes created mistakes, the same mistakes that now turn simple coins into treasures. Next up, we come to a coin from the late 1970s that looks simple, quiet, and ordinary, but the truth hiding behind it is anything but ordinary. This is the 1978 Washington quarter with the D mint mark, and what makes this coin so exciting is how quickly it can go from something that feels common to something that can make your heart stop. Because when the right era meets the right condition, this coin has shocked collectors with prices reaching over $300,000, and some people found these rare pieces in everyday change without even realizing what they were holding. That's the kind of surprise that keeps collectors hooked. The D mint mark on this coin is very important. That little letter shows that this coin was made at the Denver Mint, one of America's busiest mints. Denver coins are known for having strong, clear strikes because the mint's machines were very advanced and fast. This means that a 1978 D quarter often has sharper edges, cleaner details in Washington's hair, and more defined lettering. For collectors, that makes Denver coins special, because a strong strike is the first sign that a coin might reach very high grades. Now let's take a closer look at the design. The front shows George Washington, just like on every quarter for many years. Even on a worn coin, you can still see the curve of his profile, the way his hair is tied, and the bold word Liberty above him. On the left side, "In God We Trust," stands proudly. And right next to the date, 1978, you'll see the tiny D. Many people never even notice the mint mark, but collectors check it immediately, because that one letter changes everything. The back of the coin carries the strong image of the eagle with its wings open wide, standing on a bundle of arrows. This design was used for decades, so people often overlook it. But when a 1978 D quarter is in great condition, the eagle looks sharp and bold, with clear feathers and a smooth, bright shine. This shine is called luster, and it's one of the biggest things collectors look for. A coin with full luster and almost no marks is already special, but when it also has a rare mint error, that's when the value jumps into unbelievable territory. Most 1978 D quarters today are worn, scratched, or dull. They've been through pockets, stores, parking meters, coin jars, and old kitchen drawers. A normal circulated 1978 D quarter is worth only face value. But a rare one, a perfect one, or one with the right mistake, that's where the magic begins. One of the most exciting errors for this year is the double die. This happens when the design is pressed slightly twice by accident. When this error is strong, you can see the date or the letters look doubled and thick. It's not light or blurry, it's clear and bold. And when a double die 1978 D quarter appears in high condition, collectors get excited fast, because the value can rise beyond $300,000, especially when the doubling is easy to see. Another rare error is an off-center strike, and this one is easy to spot. If the coin wasn't lined up correctly in the machine, the design shifts to the side. A small shift is normal, but a large one, where part of Washington's head or part of the lettering is missing, can make the coin extremely rare. When someone finds a big off-center 1978 D quarter in great shape, it can be worth tens of thousands, and the rarest ones can reach the kind of value that feels unreal. There are also the wrong planchet errors, and these are some of the most shocking finds. This happens when a 1978 D quarter was struck on metal meant for another coin, like a nickel or a silver planchet. These mistakes are extremely rare, but when they show up, the value shoots upward instantly. A wrong metal 1978 D quarter in mint state has been known to reach deep into six-figure numbers, and a few special examples have topped the $250,000 mark with ease. Double-struck errors also add to the excitement. These are coins that were stamped twice, usually with the second strike twisted or moved. They look wild, like a distorted, melted version of a quarter, and collectors love them. A dramatic double-strike error from Denver in 1978 can bring huge prices because they almost never appear. Now imagine someone sitting at their kitchen table, sorting old coins from a jar. They're not expecting anything special, maybe just a few old pennies or a shiny quarter. They pick up a 1978 D quarter, thinking nothing of it. But then they notice something strange. Maybe the date looks thicker, maybe the letters look doubled, maybe the strike looks too perfect, almost brand new. That tiny moment changes everything. That's where curiosity turns into excitement, and excitement turns into disbelief. Because they might be looking at a coin worth more than a new car, more than a house, maybe worth more than some people earn in years, and collectors love the 1978 D quarter for this reason. It reminds them that treasure can hide in plain sight. A coin can be in someone's drawer for years, ignored and forgotten, until one day somebody finally looks closer and realizes they've been holding something truly special. The Denver Mint played a huge part in this story. That D mint mark tells collectors exactly where the coin was born, and Denver's reputation for strong strikes means that high-grade coins from this mint are more likely to survive with crisp details. But even Denver made mistakes, and it's those rare mistakes, double dies, wrong planchets, off-center strikes, strange minting slips, that make this coin unforgettable. And now, as we move on, the excitement only gets stronger. Because the next coin in this series brings a story that will surprise you even more, and the value climbs even higher. The journey is far from over, and each coin has its own secret waiting to be discovered. Finally, we reach the last coin in our video, and this one brings a strong finish to the whole story. This is the 1984 Washington quarter with a D mint mark, and even though it looks simple, it has some of the most surprising and shocking finds of the 1980s. Many people carried this coin in their pockets for years without ever knowing that rare versions of it have sold for over $350,000 when the right mint error and perfect condition come together. And yes, those life-changing finds really happened. The small D mint mark on this coin is very important. That D shows the coin was made at the Denver Mint, a mint known for making strong, sharp coins. Denver's machines were fast and powerful, and they usually made very clean details. That means a 1984 D quarter can have clearer letters, sharper edges, and better detail in Washington's hair. But even with that strong quality, a few rare mistakes still slipped out, and those mistakes are exactly what turned this normal-looking quarter into something truly special. Now let's take a closer look at the design. On the front, we see George Washington's profile, the same portrait Americans saw for decades. The word liberty stretches across the top, and "In God We Trust" sits on the left side. Below Washington's neck is the date 1984, and right beside it, the tiny D mint mark. Even on worn coins, the basic shape is clear, but on a high-grade coin, every little detail looks sharp: the curls in Washington's hair, the clean curve of his face, and the smooth strike of the letters. The back of the coin shows the proud eagle with its wings open wide. The arrows and olive branches sit beneath it, and when the coin is in mint condition, the feathers look crisp and bright. Collectors look for this detail right away because it helps them know if the coin is high grade or not. Most 1984 D quarters today are worn. They've been through pockets, stores, parking meters, and old drawers. A normal circulated one is only worth face value. But the rare ones, the special ones, the ones with big mistakes, those can reach unbelievable prices. One of the most shocking errors for this year is a double die. This happens when the design is pressed twice by accident, making the date or the letters look doubled. It's not light or blurry, it is bold and clear. A strong double die on a 1984 D quarter can turn a simple coin into something worth tens of thousands, and in top condition, some examples have reached over $350,000. That is the kind of number that makes collectors freeze in shock. Another exciting error is the off-center strike. If the coin moved during minting, the design shifts to one side. A big off-center error, where part of Washington's head or part of the date is cut off, can bring huge value. These coins look strange, but that strange look is exactly what collectors love. There are also wrong planchet errors, where the quarter was struck on the wrong metal. Some 1984 D quarters were mistakenly struck on nickel or dime planchets. These are extremely rare, and when found in high grade, they bring very strong prices. The rarest wrong metal examples can reach deep into the six-figure range. Double-struck coins are another exciting discovery. These happen when the coin is hit twice by the press, making the design twist or shift. These coins look wild, almost like the image is moving. Collectors love dramatic double strikes, and a strong double strike 1984 D in mint condition can be worth a fortune. Now picture this: someone is sitting at home, sorting through old change. They're not expecting anything special. They pick up an old 1984 D quarter, thinking it's just another coin. But then, something looks different. Maybe the date looks doubled, maybe the letters look thicker, maybe the coin looks way too shiny for its age. And suddenly, that simple coin becomes something rare, something that could change someone's week, month, or even year. The Denver Mint may have produced millions of quarters in 1984, but the rare mistakes are what make this coin unforgettable. That tiny D mint mark carries a history of strong strikes, but also a handful of shocking errors that now make collectors chase this coin with excitement. And with that, we reach the end of our rare quarter journey. If you enjoyed traveling through these surprising stories, these shocking prices, and these unbelievable discoveries, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into rare coins that might be hiding in your home right now. More amazing coins are coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss them.